delighted to welcome a very good friend of mine, the former Conservative MP and now elite-level political broadcaster and commentator, Sir Michael Fabricant. Michael, welcome back to Talk Breakfast.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm very well. So many stories to get through. Can I ask you about Donald Trump's latest comments about the Prime Minister, saying, thanks but no thanks, Sir Keir, with your offer of aircraft carriers. He's effectively said that we don't need countries to help us when we've just won the war. Not a good look for Britain.
Not at all. And also he said, we won't forget. And I'm not surprised he won't forget, because we've betrayed the whole of the United States and we've betrayed ourselves, actually. What Starmer has done has not been in the national interest. We've heard those two words, national interest, for the last 3 or 4 days, trying to justify what he's done. It hasn't been in the national interest. In fact, he reversed his decision within 48 hours, which is remarkable. Load of excuses about, oh, now it's only going to be used for defence. Well, those heavy bombers arriving in Fairford in Gloucestershire, they're not for defence, they're for offence, and he knows it. Look, the former Cabinet Secretary, Lord Mark Sedwill, said something very eloquent, and I typed it out so I could read it to you this morning. And he said, and this is the former head of the civil service, international law is a framework of legitimacy. It must not become an alibi for inaction against dangerous regimes in the ugly world we now inhabit. So there you have it from Lord Mark Sedwill. It wasn't to do with international law. It was all to do, I think, with trying to get the Muslim vote.
And therefore you have a particular community with a particular religious view that is influencing British foreign policy. What a time to be alive, Michael.
Well, it's dreadful. I mean, we have to decide, do we want to be British or do we want to be of a foreign culture? Now, that foreign culture may have legitimacy, but, you know, if they want to come to the United Kingdom, whoever it is, then do in Rome as the Romans do. That's the way it's always been in the past. People integrate. And look, I have to say, I know many Muslims who have integrated, but there is a hard core, and maybe it's more than just the core, who haven't integrated. And that has to be wrong. They don't even try and learn English. And that has to be wrong too, unless you accept the mores of the culture in which you live. Now, Pauline Hanson always amuses me, because you were talking about her earlier. I met her a few years ago, many years ago, actually, in Australia, and she's quite a character. But I will tell you this, it's got probably nothing to do with the main debate, but it is interesting, a little smidgen of information, and that is her son refused to vote for her.
Wow.
Yeah, he actually got prosecuted in the end, because in Australia you do have to vote. And he said, well, I didn't want to vote against my mum, so I just didn't vote at all.
Well, that's a bit of a family conflict. I can't imagine Christmas Day round at theirs.
No, exactly. I don't think it'd be very, very friendly or happy at all. But no, back to Keir Starmer. I mean, I find it remarkable. We now hear that he was advised by that great intellect, Ed Miliband, not to go ahead with joining the United States. Or actually, we weren't even being asked to join the United States. All we were being asked to do was give permission for the United States to use our landing strips. That was all that was being asked. And it was Ed Miliband, who has the political acuity of a newt, who said, no, you mustn't do this. And as I said earlier, within 48 hours, it was reversed. But, you know, I was thinking about it, and then I thought to myself, well, maybe Ed Miliband is very, very politically clever. Maybe he deliberately said this and persuaded the cabinet to go with him and not give the Americans permission to land, so that Starmer would have to reverse his decision 48 hours later. Quelle surprise, he's always reversing and doing U-turns, in order to get rid of Keir Starmer so that Ed Miliband can become the Prime Minister. Maybe that was his plan. What do you think, Mark?
Well, you have to wonder, don't you? And the real headache facing the country at the moment, Sir Michael, is be careful what you wish for. If Starmer goes, his replacement will likely be worse, whether it's Red Ed Miliband or the Ginger Growler herself, Angela Rayner. Either of those figures will shift the country further leftwards.
Yeah, absolutely. And people like you, me, and most of your listeners and viewers will be thinking to themselves, boy, what has happened as taxes go up still further to pay for these harebrained schemes? And Ed Miliband is particularly dangerous because, look, you know, his plans for net zero are even worse. And I love Boris Johnson. We're getting on to Boris Johnson now. I love Boris. But even I was saying to Boris, come on, you know, these ideas on net zero are actually very dangerous with the economy. And electric cars sales are beginning to fall now a little bit. I think everybody's waiting for these new solid state batteries, which will have a decent range. But in the meantime, I'm sticking to my twin turbo petrol engine.
Glad to hear it. Jeremy Clarkson, eat your heart out. We clearly have a changing demographic in the country, and the British Muslim vote is not going anywhere, is it? So how do you see that playing out, Sir Michael? You can't just deport 3 million people.
No, you can't. I don't know how we're going to solve it.
And of course, you wouldn't want to.
A friend of mine who actually presents the Today programme, and I won't say who it was because he'll get into big trouble. He said to me, we're like frogs boiling. And really, by the time it all happens, it's too late. Is it too late for Britain? I don't know. I think what we have to do, maybe what the French did, ban the burqa, do this sort of thing, try and force people to integrate. I mean, people like Starmer will say, oh, how can we ban the burqa? It's undemocratic. But, you know, the motto of France is liberté, fraternité, égalité. I've probably got them in the wrong order, but liberty.
Well, that wasn't too bad, actually. Yeah.
Thank you.
You know what?
Well, the name is Fabricant, so I'm an immigrant. I mean, my grandfather, great-grandfather was French, so there you go. But anyway, if that country, the heart, they would argue, of liberté, fraternité, and all the rest of it, can say ban the burqa, why can't we? Well, I mean, things are so obvious.
Well, I would support that, and I would also ban those face masks. Well, I've got a bit of history on that one from this very studio during COVID. It's my view that they were completely worthless and very illiberal and bad for the environment. But of course, youngsters use face coverings to commit crimes. So I'd do away with all of it if I was in charge, Michael. While we were on the subject of Islam, The Spectator, Sir Michael, says a report coming out on Monday will argue that Islamists are responsible for 75% of the police's counter-terror workload, 94% of all terror-related deaths in the past 25 years, and yet the Prevent organisation has been worried about the far right. Make it make sense.
Yeah, it really is amazing. I mean, one of the things that Keir Starmer loves doing is coming up with phrases. So he came up with far right. Now he's coming up with the national interest.
Yeah.
When what he did over America is far from our national interest. Actually, it's been very much against our national interest. Look, is it far right to fly the flag? I'm now hearing that it's regarded as racist to fly the British flag. There's a lovely guy in Lichfield in Staffordshire who has been putting up flags all over the West Midlands, partly at his own expense. I think it's great to see the Union flag flying. Well, it's being half Welsh, I'm not so keen on the English flag, but certainly the Union flag.
Well, the erecting of flags, sorry for bringing up erections on a Sunday morning, Sir Michael, but the decision to put these flags up in town and city centres has been described as a potential tool of hate by a government body that's looking at integration at the moment. What's your reaction to that? Is the Union Jack flag, the St George's flag, the Red Dragon, the Thistle, is that a tool of hate?
Well, I tell you what I think is more a tool of hate, and that's the Palestinian flag when I see it flying. This country isn't Palestine. Palestine isn't a country, so actually it doesn't have a flag. It doesn't have recognition as such by even the United Nations, which has now been taken over by very small countries, and it doesn't really represent the interests of either Russia, Europe, or the United States. It's just very biased. I think we should be proud of flying the British flag. Although where I am at the moment, I'm actually in Wales at the moment. I'm flying the Norwegian flag. A friend of mine who's here with me is not too sure why I flew that, but it looks nice, so that's why I'm flying the Norwegian flag. But I agree, we should be flying the British flag. We shouldn't be ashamed of it, and it certainly is not a potential tool of hate because the Palestine flag is far, far more a tool of hate than the British flag. And after all, the United Kingdom, we don't need lessons about tolerance and decency. We took in Jewish refugees, Jewish children in the 30s from Nazi Germany. Of course, the difference is that those people integrated. And that's really what other groups should be doing.
Most definitely. What are your latest thoughts on the political makeup of the country, Sir Michael? The stubborn popularity of Reform UK. What's your appraisal of Kemi at the moment? How do you think it's all going?
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned Reform and I mentioned the Conservatives, but I would also mention the Greens. I mean, the Greens are becoming very popular in some areas because they're being blatant about certain areas of policy, particularly with regard to Muslims. And I would not be surprised if we find that in some areas people will be electing, whenever the general election is, Muslim Green MPs. But where are we with Reform? Well, Reform has slightly tailed off with its popularity, but only slightly. I wasn't impressed with Kemi Badenoch in her early days. I think for 6 months she just paddled water. Now I think she's doing a very good job. The problem is for her, and the problem for the Conservative Party, is I don't think people are actually listening. I think people are saying, look, the Conservatives screwed up perhaps in the last 4 years of the 14 years we were in office. Labour is certainly screwing up big time. I mean, I just find it incredulous, actually, that the Labour Party has done more damage in 1.5 years than the Conservatives did in 14 years. But people are saying, look, let's give others a try. And that's why we're seeing the popularity of Reform and also on the other side of the political fence, the Greens. But one thing worries me. With these other parties, and I like some of the people who are running it, Advance with Rupert Lowe, and there's another party on the right whose name I forget.
Ben Habib. Oh, well, no, you've got Advance is Ben Habib and Restore is Rupert
that's
Lowe.
right. Yeah. It's too early in the morning for me, Mark, but...
Big night last night, Sir Michael.
That's right. Yes, I was drinking ginger liqueur, actually, which, anyway...
Glad to hear it. Doing your bit for hospitality.
Yes, but the point of the story is that it could split the right vote. And what worries me is what might happen at the next general election, that is Labour gets re-elected. Not because people want Labour, but because the right vote is split. And real danger.
What about this story, Sir Michael? Close to 1 million social homes, that's council flats, council houses in England and Wales, are occupied by people from overseas. We're a very welcoming country, but this is taking the mick, isn't it?
Well, when I was an MP, and I'm sure present MPs also have this problem, people would write to me and say, there's a real shortage of public housing for us. We can't find accommodation. Can you help? Well, of course, MPs can't help. It's up to the local housing authority. All we can do is write and say, look, please, can you consider this person? But it certainly is not being helped. In fact, it's being seriously damaged by the number of homes that are now being occupied by immigrants, some of whom are illegal immigrants. And it is remarkable, actually, how we've let this happen. And I have great sympathy with, I've forgotten her name, the lady you were speaking to earlier, who was from Australia, country which I know and love, who cries for the sake of the United Kingdom and the state we're getting into.
Oh, it was a lady called, was her name Dizzy? No, it wasn't Pauline Hanson.
It was Dizzy, yeah, I think it was Dizzy.
Dizzy, it was our lovely caller.
I've been called, by the way, of Dizzy Blonde, but that's another
No, well,
thing.
you're not one of those. Before I let you go, Sir Michael, it is Sunday. Sunday is a good day for a tipple, as long as you drink responsibly. So tell me about ginger liqueur. What's that when it's at home?
I'll tell you, I was in a place called Provincetown with two friends of mine, and I had an argument with one of them who is very well known, but I'm not going to mention his name. And this other friend said, "Oh, come on, I'll take you for a drink and calm you down." And we went to a bar in the United States, in Provincetown, which is right on the tip of Cape Cod in Massachusetts,
Nice.
on the eastern seaboard. Very nice. And he got me a ginger martini. Now, I don't normally drink cocktails. I don't normally drink spirits, actually. I'm a red wine man, or when it's very hot, maybe a lager or a beer. But ginger martinis are very nice. They're very difficult to make in the UK. So I asked my very best friend, which is ChatGPT, how can you make a brilliant ginger martini? I thought I'd try and make it for myself. And one of the things they said is, in fact, hold on for 2 seconds. Don't move. I'm going to do something.
This is live radio and live telly, folks. Listen, this is Drinks Corner with Sir Michael Fabricant.
Absolutely.
And by the way, I'm glad he's wearing a pair of trousers.
Yes, sometimes I wear shorts. I'm wearing a pair of jeans. I'm sort of put on a shirt and tie. But this, and this is not an advert, and of course, people who are listening on the radio are not going to know what it is, but I'll show it to you. It's called King's Ginger. And the King's Ginger is marketed by a firm called Berry Brothers, and ChatGPT recommended it, and apparently you use that to get the ginger flavour in a martini. But I did try it neat. And it's very strong, so I won't be doing that.
Well,
again.
I tell you what, it's been good because you've been dropping the truth bombs this morning. Keep it coming. In vino veritas, they say, Sir Michael. Well, I'm off to make one of your ginger martinis at 1 minute past 10. Sir Michael Fabricant, lovely to have you on the show. Wish we had longer.